So this is understood. Any more doubts, Subhadra? Everything was
Uh,
clear?
yeah, clear.
Okay, okay. So yesterday, day before, I asked you one query that what do you understand by like any example which comes to your mind, which is an example of infrastructure as a service?
Okay, infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure. If I'm a product owner, I can host my product into the Azure cloud. So someone can come and subscribe my product or services. So they can use. So we can provide an infrastructure to them. So they can use as a product from their company or their own users. And
Yeah,
we
you
can
are getting
buy.
you're
Uh,
getting closer, but
uh,
little bit your product meaning what? What is the product
Service.
here? Product, what is the product here? You are right in a way that you're giving a
If I
service.
want, so if
You're
I
not giving
want,
a
if I
product, you're giving a service.
Okay, yeah. If I want to host my application, the web or web into the cloud, so that time I have to purchase, I have to subscribe for how many computers, how many servers, and how many storage we need. Those we have to subscribe from. We have to get it from Azure. So
Yeah.
that is what.
So what you are saying here, na, you are
Mm,
saying clearly, but it is not infrastructure, it's a platform as a service. When you say host, when you say you
uh,
want to host your application, that is a platform as a service. You want a hosting platform, you don't want to be get affected by the software where it is running. Infrastructure is
mm,
more of a hardware. You remember we discussed about cost, capital expenditure and
mm,
operational expenditure, how in Azure there is more operational expenditure and zero capital expenditure, because we are,
mm, mm,
you as a customer are not worried about the capital expenditure here, right? We
mm,
are dependent on the Azure, the cloud provider, public cloud provider Azure, that it will give us the hardware, whether it's related to modem or a router or a networking, or like these are all hardware related, infrastructure related things. So they have written computer servers, load balancer, data storage. You're not worried about. So example of this is, Subhatra, it's a VM.
Yes, yes.
VM is
I
a,
explained the platform as a service. And which one the product which we launched to cloud? That one is
that is
platform
SaaS.
as a service.
That is SaaS. If you say about the software itself, like Office
Uh,
365 or a DevOps, if you just go to the browser, you're not installing any software. You're just simply clicking on that URL, you're going it and you get the service. That is a software as a service.
mm,
Infrastructure as a
mm,
service will go one by one. Infrastructure as a service is the more, it's providing you the infrastructure. You are not worried about the infrastructure or the hardware part of it. Got it? That is
mm,
a VM. VM they give
mm,
us, it's like a virtual computer, right? We will see
mm.
that. And you also asked about the this thing,
We
credentials.
have to
Okay. Next session
we
will
have to
start with the practical session. So you get the clarity whether you have to give your credentials. So we will have to ask you. You have a Gmail account, you have an Azure account, you already have.
uh, I have a Azure account for this one only, the basic one, not
That's basic is
one.
fine for us because the basic is fine for us. So you want to
Uh,
start today or how it is, or we should first complete this at least.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
you start, yeah,
What the what? Sorry.
yeah. You may log in and do you have that person ID running
No,
school?
no.
See.
He's there. He's another HR, but they won't give. We need a code, so they won't give.
Okay, do you want me to log in for you or you can
You
use your?
tell me that, let us, because I wanted to show you VM.
Um,
So you can give me your Azure ID.
yeah, let me log in for you and give my access to you.
Okay, you want to share your screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. So I don't know how I will be able to do it. Wait, wait. We'll start the next time. You get the clarity on this. It will be difficult to show that way now. You just concentrate in the first session or second session. After that, we'll start practicals. No worries. We'll again come back to this slide. So you understand like VM, virtual machine. When we create a virtual machine in Azure, it creates a disk,
Uh,
hard disk. Means It is like a physical server only. We provide the storage, we provide the gigabits of memory, what your standard premium, what you want to select as a memory region. So everything we select, and it is a physical server only, but we are grouping as a logical. We call it as a logical grouping. Example
Oh,
in example of infrastructure as a service. You got it now? What we are saying?
mm, mm. Yes.
Everything. When we create a VM in Azure, it will create a lot of things. It will create a hard disk. It will give us VNet. So there are other
Mm,
networking things which automatically gets created while we create a VM.
mm,
So if we
mm,
go to the theoretical, infrastructure as a service is the renting of hardware or infrastructure like servers and storage. Got it?
mm, mm,
Example, virtual machines, storage, blob, Azure files. So we will discuss later in detail about the storage. Example of
mm.
infrastructure, virtual machine, storage anyway is the infrastructure again. More of a like when we come up when we say about the roles, like what is the role when you come across infrastructure? So Azure administrator is a role. You must have applied for seen people applying for Azure administrator AZ104. That is Azure administrator. So all the infrastructure related ARM templates, ARM templates, deployment. So they are also infrastructure, part of infrastructure only. So it's very important. Networking, definitely the things which are required for the networking, virtual network, load balancer, they all will come under the infrastructure as a service. And what are the responsibilities with the customer? Customer meaning the end user, you, me, information and data. Azure is infrastructure as a service. Azure is not responsible for information and data. And devices, I don't know its meaning of applications, accounts and identities. Definitely it's all related to data and our user authentication. Definitely Azure is not responsible in infrastructure. They're only responsible for physical host, physical network and physical data center. Any doubt in this?
Okay. If we want to set up an infrastructure as a service from Azure, so we have to mention our VM size, how much
Yeah,
the storage, everything we have
yeah,
to set up or configure through the Azure portal.
yeah.
Is it- Yeah. Okay. The how many servers, which one is active, which one is passive. So we have
So
to
that
mention
comes
that.
under redundancy. Like if you have one,
Dependency.
if it's a local redundancy, it's a zone redundancy, we create a three copies of the backup. If it's a geo
Mm.
redundancy, we create a six copies of the backup like that. It's a redundancy based storage, the copies of the
Okay.
data we create. If there's a failure in one part, so how we, so that kind of
Managed.
different, yeah, different properties comes under while we create a VM. So we will see
Okay.
that in detail. There is another chapter, full chapter for a VM. Here we are just discussing services
Mm.
provided by. So
Mm.
next is, as you mentioned, platform as a service. So what is the
Mm.
platform as a service? Definitely, when we say platform as a service, it will have infrastructure as well. It's a bit high provided, high-end service provided by Azure. It's not just infrastructure. Along with infrastructure, meaning along with hardware, you're also getting the OS, the software part,
Mm.
like the tool
Mm.
part, where you want to host your application. For example, Logic app,
Mm.
function app, okay, app service. These are all platform as a service. What is the platform as a service? A cloud platform offers an environment on which developers create and deploy. It provides you a
Mm.
host, it provides you an
Mm.
environment. Applications and do not necessarily need to know how many processors or how many memory. Again, it is telling how much processor, how much memory. It's not worried about the infrastructure as well. You know, right? If it's a platform
Mm.
as a service, definitely Azure is responsible for hardware, infrastructure, and Azure is responsible for the platform itself. The
Mm.
OS, operating system, which operating system or which software we need to install, networking. So all are handled by the cloud provider. Microsoft Azure example I told you, Microsoft Azure Logic App, hardware fully managed by Azure. We discussed no
Mm.
hardware configuration required. Reduce the administration cost if definitely if infrastructure is handled by the cloud provider. So we are not worried about the administration efforts like how many servers we need, how what is the storage. We are not concerned about that. So that is what is saying. It reduces our administration efforts, which earlier we used to have so much of this thing. It's not in this
Yes.
case. Example is
Mm.
Azure SQL DB, Cosmos DB, Azure App Service. We will discuss that in next chapter, a later chapter. Container service. These are all the example of hosting. Container service again is a kind of a It provides an image, container image, where you can put your packaging, code packaging, and then it is used for the deployment. Kubernetes, you might have heard about Kubernetes container instances. That is more of a deployment. You get a image, container image, and you put your code in that, and you deploy
Oh,
using the AKS. So
okay.
it is this.
These things you can show, right? The practical wise, the
Yeah,
customer
these
base
are.
how to.
I'm. You just concentrate about the. In this chapter, you concentrate on the services. What is the service? What are the examples? In detail, this each and everything will be discussed in detail, and we will also do the practicals for this one.
Okay,
It will come.
okay.
So, but you try to remember like how we are relating. What is the infrastructure as a service in this chapter? What are the
Mm,
examples of infrastructure? What are the properties? What is the responsibility of a customer? What is the responsibility of the cloud provider? What is the capex? What is the opex? These are all things. So, example, you understood Azure SQL DB, Cosmos DB, Azure App Service, Container Service. What is the platform as a service property? It provides an environment to develop and deploy applications. You deploy application using Azure DevOps, right?
yes, yes,
CI/CD, CI/CD. So
yes.
definitely it is also providing you a environment.
Mm,
It is a pay
mm,
as you go. Pay as you go, you are is an on-demand utility.
mm.
Whenever you need it, you use it. Otherwise, you disable it and you don't get the paid cost. What is the responsibility of cloud provider in this? You can tell, right? Physical host, physical network we discussed, it will come. Physical data center, everything will come. On top of that, operating system, network control, application, identity. And what is the responsible customer? Only data, information. What data application you're having, that is the responsibility of the customer. Rest everything is the responsibility of cloud provider. Got it?
Okay.
So the third which we are discussing here is a software as a service. So now, I think from what we discussed, you might have got an idea what will come in here. Everything now is the responsibility of what? Who is responsible now?
Cloud, the Azure.
Yeah. So mostly in software as a service, we say infrastructure is in cloud, hosting platform is in cloud, and even we are not at all, creating in we are not creating the software as well. We're just configuring. So that's what it is saying. Only the end application is used. Example, Microsoft Office 365. You have used Microsoft Office 365 in your office. We will just
Yes, yes.
open in the browser.
Mm,
We will just put the URL and we can open it. No
yes.
installation is required. We don't install anything. Azure DevOps. We just use the URL dev.azure.com. We use it. We don't install anything. Application is not developed but only configured. This is
Conflict.
important. We
Mm,
only use the end product, that is fine. Responsibility of customer information and data, definitely if you're providing some information, login credentials while you log in into the DevOps, so that is your responsibility. What is the
mm,
responsibility of the cloud provider? Physical infrastructure, operating system, networks, and also here it will come as a like data. We
mm,
can't say directly data, but definitely you don't
mm.
install anything. You don't install anything, but you configure that. Application is
Okay.
not developed, but only configured. So any doubt in these services, then we will proceed with the next module, part two of the
Yeah,
module one.
yeah, I'm okay. Yeah,
Done, right?
yeah,
So I
done.
have
Mm.
shared these slides already with you.
Yes, you shared already. Yeah,
So we will start with the part two.
yes.
The screen is visible.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there any contact? Did she respond?
No, no response.
Just get a response, okay? Otherwise, it's like
Mm.
we should be everyone should know that we are conducting like that. Just give me a minute.
I think
So
she
yeah,
doesn't.
you get the clarity today as you told. Okay, you mentioned you'll get the clarity from sales or whoever you're contacting with, and let me
Mm.
know in message. You can WhatsApp me. You can like yeah these are the things because if you telling me, they will understand. Okay.
I will ask them to provide a recurring meeting for
Yeah,
more than
yeah,
1
and they should know.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
So now this is a second part of module, Introduction to Microsoft Azure. What we will be discussing. So anyway, you know most of the things you do. You know about DevOps, but do you also know about Azure portal, how and where the services are like, and how do we create those services? Are you aware of Azure portal? So we will be
Yeah,
discussing in detail about Azure portal, key
a
Azure.
little bit. Yeah, you can continue from your flow. So if I have any doubt, I will ask you.
Yeah, so we will go through this content. Azure portal, that is a UI based thing which we use
Mm,
for creation of Azure resources. Key Azure terms, what are the terminologies which we use? Getting started with Azure, setting up Azure, Azure CLI, Azure PowerShell. I think setting up Azure and connection, because some people they don't know like you need a subscription, but these things I don't think you will have any issues in creating a subscription and login, creating account. So we have to start with the basic, right, for everyone. So Azure
mm,
portal is a one-stop shop for everything to do with your cloud subscription. If you want to create new resources, you need a subscription. Everything in Azure is based on subscription. Subscription meaning it's more related to cost. Like if it's
mm,
a free tier, now what we are using, it's a basic subscription. Then comes
mm,
standard, then come premium. Depending on the tier of the subscription, you are charged. So that is the
mm.
meaning of, yeah, subscription. Create then. Have you heard about resource groups? What is a resource group?
No.
Okay.
I,
So after getting subscription, when you log in with your user ID, the first thing
mm,
you need to create is resource. For any
mm,
resource for you to create, you need a logical grouping, that is a resource group. To
mm,
manage your virtual infrastructure, this Azure portal monitor the health of your resources and check the pricing levels. Everything will come under the portal. So if you
mm,
want to scale up, sometimes what happens, there's a huge demand of you're supposing in Zomato, we have seen in festival, there was a huge demand. So they have to scale up. You have to increase
mm,
the server. So that everything
mm,
it is saying you can do it in the Azure portal itself. It's as highly available because 99.9% provides the performance. So that is they're telling about portal cloud.
mm.
Now coming to the key Azure terms. So what is a tenant? When we say tenant, what do you understand by the term tenant?
Renting, sir, we have to
It is coming on the
rent
top, right? It is coming on
up.
the sitting on the top. So after tenant will come the subscription. So this is a private cloud environment shared by users. This is typically
Mm,
linked to one or more domain. When you set up your Microsoft subscription, you create a tenant. Basically, it's saying whenever you create your subscription, whether it's a basic or a standard subscription, or it is an enterprise, because usually in our companies we see it's an enterprise based subscription. Like many users will be grouped into one enterprise for that client, and they will provide us that subscription. They have taken a different kind of enterprise subscription. Some users take an individual subscription. So that is all coming under the tenant. That is the overall like umbrella where all the subscriptions like you have details
mm,
you have. Now coming to subscription, as we discussed, it's more of a cost related. You can have one or several subscription linked to your Azure tenant, or one subscription can be used to pay for multiple tenants. The subscription is
mm,
the financial mechanism used to pay for the Azure resources consumed within the tenant. This may be an enterprise model basis, costed plan, or pay as you go model, depending on the extent you want. Yeah, see, I told you about the enterprise model, how companies they will come and take enterprise subscription. They don't want to go for pay as you go because they know that the project will be running for so many years or so many months. So they don't want to go for that kind of a situation where they don't want to go for a situation where their resources are getting stuck, they are not able to create any resources. So it is more of an enterprise based subscription. Give me 1 minute. So yeah, so any doubt in this subscription, it's most of a cost related, like because everything in Azure, it's a cost is involved. So you need somebody to calculate that cost, right? Billing and all related, it all comes under subscription. That's why initially itself that it asks you whether you need a basic tier or a premium. Premium will have more charge but better performance, more storage. Basic will not have that kind of a performance. So you are aware of these things, costing and all.
I saw building session, but I never use. I use only the DevOps. So I tried these things.
It's
I don't
okay.
know.
It's okay. So subscription, whenever you have to log in Azure and whenever you have to create any resource, you have to get a subscription. So the first thing after connecting in Azure, you need to have a subscription, basic
Yeah, I
standard or
subscribe
premium.
only for trial version. Yeah, so trial version and DevOps also there is subscription to.
Yeah. In Office, we have an enterprise subscription. If individually we are going, we have another subscription. So everything is subscription based because we are
Mm,
dealing here with cost. Everything has a
mm,
cost. Even if you select a storage or even if you select a region, for example, one region in USA, East US region is supposing some, even in US also, some regions are more expensive and some region it is less expensive. The cost of VM or using some storage. So it depends. So everything has a cost. So you have to pay based on that. Sometimes it's a pay as you go model where you only pay for the usage. Pay as you go model, you already know what is a pay
mm.
as you go model. It's a utility based model. You're not taking for few months and for years. It is not like an enterprise where you are sure you're gonna use for 1 year. It's like that. Understood the meaning now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Next is resource. You already know what is a resource. Resource is a, if it's a storage account, if it's a blob, is a resource. If it's a Cosmos DB, if it's a
Mm,
table. So these are all resource. If it's a VM, right? One is
mm,
a resource group where all the resources are kept, and what is inside that is a resource. A logical
mm,
grouping of objects and resources. For example, by department or by environment, you can have copies of the same resource. Okay, it's telling about like having multiple copies in several different resource groups. That is fine. But resource is mostly like a storage account, like a blob or a table or a queue. So these are all
mm,
resources. Cosmos DB. Resource objects, they must be stored within a resource group and could be variety of different type function, logic app, web app. Yeah, these are all also resource. Basically, there is very minor difference between resource and a resource object. Because we say function app are also resource, Azure resources. We say logic app is also Azure resource, web app. But they have a, like, definition wise they have segregated. But we usually, in general terms, we use it as a resource only. Now getting started with Azure. As a first time user, the following will be needed before you can get an email account. This you know. A Microsoft, this is for
mm,
beginners. A Microsoft 365 business account. Okay, it's a 10. A Microsoft 365 business basic account. This is what was originally referred to as Office 365 account. It's used in Visual Studio Code, DevOps, it's rating. So it's related to the logging. Basically, getting started means logging related Azure subscription. I told after logging you need a subscription, and then you can navigate to this link. This is how you go. Getting started. Next, you set up a free account. It will be credit for the 30 days. Pay as you go. This is for all subscription. You want me to go through it? We can go through it, or you are fine with this setting up
You let
login.
me share my screen. I already log in, so there you can explain me these things.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Uh, you can start sharing, then only I can just
Yes,
share
I
my
will
screen.
stop sharing now. You can share your
Okay.
screen. Yeah, you share your screen, Subhadra. I've stopped sharing. It's a small icon in the middle.
Yeah,
Share.
yeah. I'm trying to share. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, I can see.
On this one, Azure, I already logged in.
So, you have taken any subscription?
No, basic only. So I'll just logged in.
But why it is saying okay, start with Azure Free Trial. Okay, go to
Uh,
go to plus sign Azure Services. Below that you can see a plus and create a resource.
mm.
Search for resource group first. I think you don't have a my Azure account. Okay, I don't know. It is showing as a Outlook. Okay, let us try this. Try to recreate a resource group first. We'll create
Mm.
one resource group today. Yeah, this is the first.
Okay.
It's showing you some warning. Can you close this? Escape. Press escape. Because I think you have not taken subscription. You have to take a free trial. Have you given the credit card credentials while creating an Azure account? Have you given those details, credit card details?
Mm, no. While creating, I did.
I don't think you have created a
I don't have, yeah,
Azure
better you can.
account. So we have
Yeah,
to
I don't.
create. We have to create.
Yeah, better you can. I have to create. Okay, do you know? Do you have a login account for you?
For me, it's a company actually, my company base. So that's why I can't log in using that. I have in the company. And whatever
Okay.
free subscription I had used it. So because the
Okay.
meetings keep on happening and every new month we have a new
Ours,
customers.
ours is we cannot because network team won't handle it.
Sorry?
So I ours is only development. So the subscription everything handled by some other team. So we don't have access. We just raise the request. They used to IT team only
It's
do it.
okay. It's okay. It's
Uh,
your company's ID you're using.
no, this is my personal ID.
So we will do
Uh,
one thing, Subhatra. First of all, we need to check whether you are having, because if
mm,
I share my screen and if you give me your email ID, I will check
mm,
whether you have, because it will, when if you say you have a Azure account, okay,
mm,
then you must have given your credit card details, because without that they don't give you
mm,
free credits. It should show like you
mm,
have 16,000 credits in your account. Then they say
mm,
they give you free credits. It's not you're they're charging 16,000 rupees from you. $200 they're
mm,
not charging. They are giving first month free trial, because why we ask customer to give their account is because every time we go to the customer, my account is already done. I have used my free credits. So
mm,
next customer comes, so they will not give me free account like that, right? So if you have a Gmail ID, if you have a
mm,
Microsoft account, so we can use that
mm,
Microsoft account to create a Azure account, Azure
mm.
portal login account. So we can check with
Okay.
your email ID whether, because then you must have given your credit card, but they will not deduct anything from your credit card. It is just for 1 month you will get free subscription, and after that we will disable, remove that card from the account itself. So it will not charge you. This is how Ganesh
Mm,
is doing in the different session, evening session. So we, whenever we
okay.
log in, there is a code which gets generated. So after you log in, did you get a code? No, right?
No, no, no.
So you don't have a Azure account. Maybe there's a different account you are having. So we will
Mm,
create an Azure account for you. No worries. Meanwhile, you get in touch with the team. Okay.
mm,
So we will just go through what we were discussing, and because it will end in 10 minutes, 5 minutes. So we will just go through what we were doing. You can stop sharing now. And we will
mm.
create
Yeah.
your account, no worries, so that you can also practice. 16,000 credits you will get, and it will be more than enough for 1 month. More than enough, I will say,
Okay.
for you
Okay.
to practice.
Yeah. Before that, I will try to which I will try to create. Today I will try to create Azure
So you got it
login.
right. You just do step by step logging into Azure. So
Mm,
it will ask you, please give the
mm,
Microsoft account. You provide your account, Microsoft account. If you
mm,
don't have a Microsoft account, first create an account and then use that for the creation of the Azure. And then it will
mm.
ask you in the end few details. If you're facing an issue, we will discuss. No issue. You're able to
Okay.
see screen.
Yeah. Okay.
So this and all we will discuss. Subscription page we discussed is related to spending as it relates to the Azure subscription, which focuses on background objects and tasks. Any flows or Power Automate apps may not be featured. Okay. Azure
Mm,
CLI. So what is the Azure CLI? It's the Azure Command Line Interpreter. So whatever
mm,
Subhatra we discussed about Azure portal, there
mm,
are different ways of achieving the same thing. Some people want to use a portal, UI based. They
mm,
want to create resources using portal. Some people are comfortable in CLI. Some people want to use a PowerShell. So there are different ways. If you want to go for a PowerShell, it is more of a script based. You're creating. You
mm,
specify in a commands. You specify in the
mm,
commands what you want to create. A resource group, you specify in the commands. So that is the power of PowerShell. Azure CLI is a cloud shell which is already, if I log in tomorrow, so we can see in the cloud shell, there's an option
Mm,
inside portal. You can log in
mm,
there and you can run your commands inside without installation of anything, because for PowerShell you need to install Windows PowerShell, right? You
mm,
cannot use it in the portal, but Azure CLI, you can use it inside the portal itself. Azure PowerShell, you
mm,
can create the Azure resources with the help of PowerShell commands. It is
mm.
cross-platform shell scripting language. You can use a scripting language. It can be used in Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. Install PowerShell. Yeah, this is telling you about the steps. Download an MSI package, start the installation. Yeah, and there's a command. First, if you want to create a resource group, the first step you do is connect AZ account. Like supposing this is a simple PowerShell command, connect AZ account. What it
Mm.
asks is before running creating any resource in Azure, simple. It is asking you to log in. The first step is connect AZ account. This will
Mm.
ask you to log in with your Azure credentials. Once you log in, sign in with your credentials, then it's your playground. You can create any resource. You have to specify. You can get commands from Google how to create a resource using PowerShell commands. You run that, execute that, and it's within few seconds you can create a resource in Azure.
Okay.
These are similar,
Mm,
but there are different ways of doing the same thing. You got my point?
mm,
Portal also we are deploying the resources. In PowerShell
mm.
also we are deploying the resources. Only which way which are you comfortable, you can use that. So
Okay.
we have completed the module 2 theoretical,
Mm,
not the practical one. So next
mm,
session I would recommend we start with the practical. Theoretical
mm.
module, theoretical wise module 1 is completed. I will share you the PPT. So any doubt in this as of now, but once you see only, I will think you will have more doubts.
Yeah, I will try to create myself for Azure login.
Yes.
So once it's done, I will go through your steps and how to use the PowerShell.
Yeah.
PowerShell I use for Node.js, the .NET Core. So PowerShell and Azure CLI. So I try to check.
Okay. Yeah. So that is a good idea. So
Mm.
because even if you have any doubt, we can connect later. But you try. It is good thing that you're trying from your end. You will remember more rather than me
Yes, yes.
just telling you, do this. You anyway, you are a resource of Azure, so
Mm.
you must be aware of many things. So you try from your end. If you face any difficulties, we can connect. I will share you this recording in PPT. But as we discussed, we need to get management on board on this. Okay.
Shreya, mostly you are working on a development or the Azure
I'm
side. How?
Actually, I'm
Um,
basically mine is more of a developer profile only. Now I'm moving into architect.